In the early 1900s, as European empires carved up Africa like spoils of war, one king chose a different battlefield. Not with rifles, not with rebellion, but with law. His name was Rudolf Duala Manga-Bell, and his courage would cost him everything. Born into the royal Bell family of the Duala people in Cameroon, Rudolf was not an ordinary African ruler. He was educated in Germany. He spoke fluent German. He understood European politics, law, and diplomacy. At a time when most colonial powers dismissed Africans as inferior, Manga-Bell mastered their language, their legal systems, and their logic. When he returned home as king, Cameroon was under firm German control. The empire believed it owned the land, the ports, the people. But Manga-Bell believed something different. He believed treaties mattered. He believed agreements had meaning. He believed justice could prevail. He was wrong. German colonial authorities had a plan. The fertile coastal lands of the Duala people were too valuable, too strategic, too profitable. They decided to remove the Duala population from their ancestral homes and relocate them inland, away from trade routes, away from power. To the Germans, it was administrative reform. To Manga-Bell, it was theft. Instead of raising an army, he raised his voice. He wrote petitions. He cited treaties signed between his ancestors in Germany. He appealed directly to officials in Berlin. An African king challenging an empire using its own laws. It was bold. It was intelligent. It was dangerous. Manga-Bell's letters reached Germany. Missionaries and lawmakers began to question colonial policy. The narrative of civilizing Africa was cracking, and that made him a threat. Not because he was violent, but because he was right. Colonial authorities needed silence. Instead, they had a king exposing them. Then came 1914. World War I erupted in Europe. Fear and paranoia spread through the German Empire, and suddenly, Rudolf Duala Manga-Bell was accused of treason. They claimed he was conspiring with enemy powers. There was no solid evidence, but in a colonial court, evidence was optional. The trial was swift, controlled, predetermined. A king who believed in justice now stood before a system that never intended to give him any. He defended himself with dignity, with intelligence, with the same faith in law he had always held. But the empire had already made its decision. In 1914, Rudolf Duala Manga-Bell was sentenced to death. He was executed publicly. The message was clear. No African, no matter how educated, how diplomatic, how loyal, could challenge colonial authority. But empires misunderstand something. You can execute a man. You cannot execute an idea. Today, Rudolf Duala Manga-Bell is remembered as one of Africa's earliest voices of legal resistance against colonial injustice. He proved that resistance does not always roar. Sometimes it writes. They tried to silence a king. Instead, they created a legend.